everyone. I don't know if I can hear myself right now, so I'm just gonna see if I can figure out the audio, which seems to be, for some reason, possibly not working. Give me one moment. Hi, Lydia. Lydia. No, I don't know if anybody can hear my voice, but I'm here. So I'm just gonna type into the. Huh? Oh, you can hear me. Lydia, I can see your face as usual. Can you just nod or wave if you can hear my voice? Nope, she's not happening either. Sorry about this. Every week is something a little bit different, but we seem to be okay. Lydia, can you hear my voice? Lydia is not like you can hear it though. All right. So I just want to make sure before I start that everyone can hear me, and I got a microphone right there that I like keeping out of view. But it's I just want to confirm before I start because I don't want to go on without anybody because I mean the whole intention of this is that I'm interacting with you, and you can see me here every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, it's getting better and better. That it's getting the tech set up and all this kind of stuff. But I just want to check one more time. Um, Lydia, 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 can you hear my voice? Hold on one second. See if I can add your. Yeah, stream, unmute mic. Yeah. Oh, I know what's happening because it's coming out for me out of a different place. Give me one second. We do this pretty much every week, and every week I say I'm not going to have these problems, but all right, here we go. Let's try that again. All right, I see private. All right, I can barely hear you. Okay, so hi. So you can barely hear me. Is that right? Um, so Michelle, how well can you hear me, Michelle? So Lydia, it looks like it's happening on your end because I have somebody here that's testing the sound. So Lydia, can I add you in? I'm going to add you on stage and see if you can hear me on like live, like we usually do. Okay? You can't hear me.
You gave all of our fresh water to those potatoes.
Okay.
No, it's okay. I'll just die. Okay?
No, I can't hear very well.
Don't worry, I'm okay now.
I don't.
All right, it's getting night. Let's head in.
Okay.
Close.
Let's see.
We don't have a bed.
No. Okay. I'm just okay. Audio here. Okay, Leota, please get off of me. Come on, I can't do this. Okay. Okay, mic, speaker. Okay.
Let's test.
Okay. Hello. Oh, it's still not working. It says that it's working here on my end. Yeah.
Let's test your speaker before.
But I can't hear you. Okay. The test worked.
The test worked?
Yeah, so I can only hear you a little bit.
Okay. I honestly I don't know what to do about that right now.
Okay.
Before everything's set up properly, and maybe if you tried on on a cell phone or something to see if that worked.
Okay, all right. Let's just try that. Okay.
I don't know if
Okay,
that.
Leota, can you please get off my back? Come on.
2 seconds now. All right. So
Okay,
maybe
sorry.
chance
Mhm.
we
Okay,
can
Leota, come on. Okay, sorry. Let's see.
every week as we're getting better and better.
Mhm. Let me just see if the cell phone's better.
Put you off there. So so I can see that everything's going live right now, and um, I'm gonna just go ahead and watch this and make sure that I can hear myself, because I really don't want to go through all of this and have everybody say they can't hear me. I do want to make sure that it's happening properly. So I do see that that's having an audio issue. I'm watching the playback, and it's actually no, that doesn't have to be adjusted. This is the same all the time, but I don't know why it's working differently this time. But I'm watching a video of myself, and like I can't hear anything. But it's working fine on the cell phone. No, not paused. I'm just letting everybody watch this happen, just so they know I'm actually here. Whoever is watching live, please just type in a message saying hi and let me know if you can hear me. I can see that Lydia is still having trouble hearing me, and I have somebody back here with me, Michelle, who says that it works perfectly on a cell phone, but for some reason on the laptop the playback isn't working. And I have everything set up properly here, so I don't know. Message on what it could be. I just made a change there, if that makes any kind of difference. But at any given point, Lydia, if I suddenly come very clear to you, please let me know. All right. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, technically, it is all set up and it is proper. So I don't know what else I could do. How do echo cancellation automatically adjust volume? I'm going to turn off the automatic volume adjust, and I'm just going to hope that that still works. And default in. And yeah, so I'm going to switch over to my laptop microphone for a moment. So this is my laptop microphone now. And so I switched away from this. And I can see that that's working. So Lydia, you can hear me now. I switched away from this. I can see that that's working. Okay, so if I have to, I'll just stay with the my not usual mic. I'm just going to try one more time here. Okay, so if I have to, I'll just stay with the my not. Okay, so now I switch back over to my microphone. No, I had to turn the mic off and go by my laptop. But yeah, so for some reason that's okay. Whatever. So be it. We'll just have to do the best we can with what we got. And just checking to see if that's making a difference, which it's not. So no idea. Okay, so that said, See if that's, there we go. All right. Well, let's just do that then. Okay. We'll just go with that. Whatever. I tried everything I could there.
See if that's, there we go. All right. Well,
There.
let's just do that then.
All right.
Okay. We'll just go.
We're just going to stop this playback so that we're not.
All right.
All right. So that way I can hear myself. I am very sorry about this. And this is the same setup that I use every week that works every week. And for some reason it doesn't work. So seems to be the theme every week that I've been doing this, because this is week number 4, I think, at this point. And it's like every week we have the first like 12 to 30 minutes of just trying to figure this out. So look, hey, what I got this week, notice no black bars. Okay. So that was like a huge thing to get rid of those. And also for some reason, I feel like I don't know what it is about the lighting or whatever, but it looks really clear today. And I don't know, I haven't done anything any different that I know of. But the same good old mic that I use every week for some reason today, whatever, right? So what I did was I went to the laptop that's on my laptop, literally, and it's got its own microphone. So I'm just using that. So it's not the best sound, but at least you can hear me. We're going to go with that, okay? So let's get something moving here. This week, I actually put in all of my banners in advance. So I can actually do stuff like this. So, and for anybody that is watching and wants to get onto live broadcast, we are this week going to be, I'm looking, one day I'll be able to get this. Will be the future update is that my screen will be under my camera so I can look at my notes and you at the same time. But for now, every week I tell everyone, when I look down, I see your face down here and the camera's up there, but we're getting there. So this week, we're going to talk about tough times and how to build resiliency and how to get through those. Okay. How to get through those tough times. And this is a live stream that if you want to join in and be on screen with me to ask questions live, you can go to, bam, you can go to that. So I'm going to leave that on the screen for now, but this code, of course, is only available during the live stream. If you're watching the replay later, that this StreamYard link won't work. But in case you're here with me now, okay? And this is also posted on the YouTube and on Facebook, so you can join every week in YouTube or Facebook, and whatever the live link is that week, you can join in live in the studio that week. Otherwise, you're watching the replay. So we're going to hide that. So again, as it says, resiliency. So let's just move through this on rails. And then if anybody has any questions, definitely type them up as I'm going. But how do you even know you're in a tough time? Okay, we kind of have to start with that. At some point, things are moving along smoothly for you in your life. And that might be just for the day. It might be just for the hour. You might be somebody who's had to go through nothing but tough times from birth. And it really sets up for you a standard. And your standard of what is a tough time or what is an easy time is really always based on your life experience and also what you've learned from your parents or your friends at a young age as to what is tough. Because a big thing about a tough time is that it's really a matter of perspective. And a person who has a very high resiliency might think of a tough time as not tough at all. And a person who has very little resiliency will think that, a spilled milk is something worth crying over. And we don't want to cry over spilled milk. We just want to clean that up. So when is something a major catastrophe? And we're using that word catastrophe on purpose. When is it a major catastrophe is when your mind decides to catastrophize it. And catastrophizing means that our perspective about a situation is that we're making it much worse than what it really is. So I think we have to start when we're talking about resiliency, about getting through a tough time. We really have to start with having a personal decision on what's a tough time. Okay. So the first thing that we want to do when we're looking at what is a tough time and how are we getting through it is what is everyone else calling it? I'm just noticing that my screen is kind of like really bright on my face. So I'm just going to like tone that down a bit. I do like the blue, so we're going to keep a bit of that. Okay. So what's a tough time? So Obviously, when you're young, when you're 3, 4 years old, the best you have is what your parents are doing or what your brother and sister, whatever generally the people around you are doing or reacting to. So as a kid, you drop some toys, they break, and whether or not that's a major catastrophe to you is really something that's truly in the moment. So as a very young kid, you're just having a natural reaction to shiny keys. Anybody that's got kids knows that if your kid's freaking out, sometimes just putting something shiny in front of them is enough to make them stop freaking out. And it's a distraction away from what a baby is experiencing as a pain. And whenever there's a distraction, dangly keys or shiny things, for a moment, the mind is paying attention to something that's new and something that's unpredictable. And a young mind can't hold both a pain, a discomfort, and interest in a shiny thing at the same time. So you'll notice a young kid will be crying and crying and crying, and you'll be like, oh, look at that. And they'll stop crying for a moment to be like, oh, wow, that's neat. And then they'll remember there was a pain and go back to crying again. And what that shows us is that the mind has the ability to focus on something in a way that, how do I say this? The amount of focus that we're putting on something, even if it's a bad time, is going to actually accentuate our experience of it. I don't even have that point written down. I think it's a great point. But the amount of focus, I'm going to say it again, the amount of focus that we put on a pain or shiny things will direct all of our body's energy, resources, even our reactions, our chemical reactions will all be placed upon supporting what we are focusing on. So if we see that something's bad, we're actually telling our brain it's bad, and our brain is going to start to create chemicals and neurophysiological reactions as if to support the idea that it's bad. So it will actually make the experience worse. If we are looking at something that is very bad, and in that moment, we spend time looking at something that's less bad or actually very pleasurable, our brain, if we focus on that pleasurable thing, our brain will, of course, create chemicals and reactions. We will relax our muscles. It will create chemicals of relaxation based on what we're focusing on. And when we go back to looking at the thing that was so bad, it just doesn't seem so bad anymore. Okay? So first and foremost, a point of resiliency is paying attention to your focus. So what we have to do is really look at what is our, how do I say this? What is our experience of a negative thing? As in, how much attention is all of our parts giving to that? So one example would be a kid falls, gets a scratch. In that moment, there's physical pain. For as much as the body feels the physical pain, it will amplify the pain and make it worse. Now, if somebody comes along and says, oh, I feel really bad. Oh, I'm so sorry you have that scratch. I'm so sorry you have that pain. I really want for you to feel good. I want you to know that I'm here for you. And that's now moving the attention towards some kind of care, some kind of love, or some kind of comfort. And that will divide the attention from the physical attention to the pain to the attention of the physical care. And that division of attention will cut the amount of physical pain that a kid is feeling in half. So I'm saying this quite a bit now, and I think I've really kind of hammered that home here, but that's going to really pull forward through all the rest of the things that we're talking about. So now, okay, let's see what kind of points we have here. So point number one really is, where are you placing your focus? But the reason why I don't always say that as like, I don't even have it written down as the very first point, is because when you are in pain, when you are in discomfort, your brain starts activating, creating cortisol and activating your amygdala, your fear center. And while that is happening in you, while you're having a stress response, your mental resources move away from logical reasoning, and it's hard to make choices of what you're thinking about. So when you really are in a tough time, when your resources are low, when you're tired and cranky, when you haven't eaten enough, when somebody's really trying to put you down and beat you down for something that you said one day or something that you promised to do and never came through, the amount of shame that they try and put on you, the amount of pressure they put on you, how much you let that get you down is really your own, based on your own ability to decide where you're placing your focus and also how you're judging that pressure or that experience. And so your ability to choose where you're focusing your thoughts, it just gets really difficult while you're in that pressure. And so we're going to talk today about how to start to break down what is happening and how to place your focus internally instead of externally. So you can start to get internal empowerment and you can start to get your control back. And ultimately, the more control you have of your focus, the more control you'll have over your physical reaction to an experience, and the more control you'll have over choosing what perspective you have over the experience. All that makes sense, okay? So first and foremost, we're just going to talk a little bit more about, so point number one is where you place your focus is going to amplify. Point number two, while you're in a very difficult situation, I'm just going to set aside the techniques just for like 5 minutes, because connecting in with your breath, looking at how you're judging the situation, being more analytical, logical about what's happening, breaking it down to little bits. These are all things we're going to talk about. But that's while you're in the situation. Before the situation comes, okay, which is us right now, hopefully, we're going to remember some things, okay? So first and foremost, we're going to remember that almost everything is on a cycle, okay? So I'm just reordering some of these comments, which is why I generally don't actually type these comments out in advance, because as I start talking, I start coming up with things to say. Almost everything is on a cycle. And of course, you've read this already. Tough times never last, but tough people do. But here we're talking tonight about what is it that builds resiliency? What's going to make you tough? If your parents took care of everything for you, and if you're taking care of everything for your kids, you're not building resilience. What creates toughness, grit, resilience, is when a person goes through a situation over and over again and becomes more familiar with it. This is very difficult if there isn't cycles. If something's just all on all the time, fire alarm is going off night and day, and people are screaming night and day, and there's lack of resources and needs being met all day, then that's just going to create a constant stress response that is going to create a habit and a pattern. So we won't know that there's ups and downs and cycles. It'll just be like all on all the time. And in that situation, we still have to have some amount of outside perspective. We need to be able to see that there's something outside of our bad situation to remind us that we're in a bad situation. So step number one is trying to find a perspective of someone or something that is not going through the tough time that you are, so you can look back into what you're going through and see that it's just part of a cycle, that it is something that you can break out of, and that there is a perspective and a way of being able to shift, that you have some kind of power. Also, if you're already in a position where you understand this, like, Yeah, I know I'm supposed to just get more sleep, and I'm supposed to just not, bite my tongue and not say something when somebody's being super disrespectful. Like, I get that I'm supposed to just do that, but man, is it so hard while I'm in it. And all I got to remind myself that it's going to pass. No matter how angry we get, no matter how much we try and fight and argue, it's not going to last forever. It just can't. Nothing really does. Okay. Like, and I say almost everything's on a cycle because just for the sake of full integrity, like the term constant is a constant. It's not on a cycle. That's why it's a word, constant. So I don't like saying everything and always, but so that's why I say almost everything. There are some things like the center of knowing from a spiritual perspective is a constant. Okay. Your center of being, but the very center, not like your spirit or your soul or your consciousness. I mean, like the center, it's always the center. It doesn't change. Okay. So that is a constant. So almost everything else is on a cycle. So I'm going to bring up this word again. And we talked more in depth about this last week, that, paranoia is paranoia. That's not this is pronoia. I can never remember which side of the screen I'm on. All right. So paranoia. So paranoia is the irrational fear, non-logical, no reason fear of something, that it's going to happen, that you have no control over, but there's no real proof of it. Pronoia is the irrational, no proof, no fact, trust and belief that absolutely everything's going to work out perfectly. And if we are able to hold this one word, wherever it is on my screen, I like being able to point at things, just it makes it a bit more interactive. I'm like one of those, like, like the games. I want to get some pronoia and shove it in air. So, and then out comes happiness. So if before I get into if I'm in a wave of some amount of break in all of the hectic craziness, if I go to the washroom and so that somebody can't just keep yelling at me just for those 2 minutes. By the way, some people just keep going on like smoke breaks at work just so they can get away from like the hecticness of what's happening in there. Okay. But if in that moment, if every time you come to a stoplight in your car, if every time you go to wash your hands, which you have all of the freedom in the world these days to wash your hands as much as you want, and it's going to be supported. But like for all of these little moments that you have this break in what you think is a tough time, if in that moment you remind yourself of this one word, it's all going to be okay. Okay? It's always okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. If we truly believe that this is perfectly aligned, that somehow this negative thing that we're going through, this pressure, this pain, this suffering, if we know and trust that it's going to lead to something good, our brain will wire to look for that. It will look for the perspective. It will try to find the way that it's going to work out. So this is a major one of how to get through a tough time. A major reason, I have to read it because I know everybody's going to read it the second I put it on the screen, so I have to read it along with you. Accept that you can't control all of the events in your life, but you can control your internal reaction to them. Once you're in the situation, once you're in a position, when you're 7, 6, and your parents are just screaming at you all the time, or worse, you don't really have that much control. You're going to have moments where you can be away from that. You got to sleep sometime. You got to go to school sometime. There's always a place where there's a break. When you're 12, 14, you can go for walks. You can take breaks from all of the craziness. When you are any older than that, 19 and above, you have a lot of freedom to just be outside. You can control some amount of the events that are happening around you because you can walk away. But there are times where, people are in very unfortunate situations where walking away from that yelling, that screaming, that beating means they're going to have to, it means you're going to have to deal with even worse yelling and even worse. It's not worth walking away. So you endure. And that is a place of power to stand there and say, I know that if I walk away from this, I'm going to have to deal with worse later. So I'm going to actually endure this. And every time you endure it, that builds resiliency. Repeating through a difficult thing, time, situation, whatever, thought process, and then taking a break from it, going to the washroom, having a day off, going to school, going to work, whatever, and then coming back into it. But mindfully deciding to relax in between each of the times of that stress. Your brain is seeing the pattern of I'm taking a break, now I'm in the pain again, now I'm taking a break, now they're yelling at me again. And every time, if we made the choice, this time I'm going to relax and experience it, and I'm going to pay attention to my internal reaction. Can I sit in front of this person that's screaming at me and change my stress response, change my trigger, or how I'm reacting? How am I reacting to this situation that's outside of me? And why? Why am I? We can start to control our reaction to a situation when we can rationalize, when we can start listing off objectively. I hear, you can just say this inside your own head, but I hear that you're yelling right now. I see that your face is flushed red and you're screaming. I sense and feel that there's tension inside of you. I don't know, just for tonight, there's sirens going off constantly outside the window. I don't know how much of it's coming through here, but it's perfect timing. Pronoia, I'm sure it's great that I'm hearing sirens going constantly, and I have to actually kind of tune in to hear them. There it is again. Okay. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm sure it's perfect if you can. Maybe that's the whole reason why Mr. Microphone decided to check out today. So just so you can hear the sirens go off more often. And I have to say, okay, that is a siren. If I'm having a reaction to that siren of fear or worry, I have to ask myself, why am I having that reaction? Well, because at some point in my life, I decided that is going to lead to a pain, that somebody's going to be suffering. But that's not actually a fact. Okay? Because my fire alarm in this building goes off every week, for literally like every week or two for the last 2 years. 3 fire trucks show up. There's all these firemen, and every time there's no fire. So for everyone standing outside, they're like, oh my God, something's wrong. No, nothing's wrong at all. Every time, nothing's wrong. So this is why we want to really look at what is my internal representation? How am I internalizing? What picture am I creating? That's my internal representation of a sound. It's just a siren. I don't know anything's wrong at all. Or even of a person being very angry and screaming at me. I don't really know all the details about why they are. I just know what I'm interpreting that to mean, and I can control that. Because it's not always my fault that someone's yelling at me. So what's going on with them? What's going on with this world or this situation that I'm going through that makes me make it worse? Maybe I'm making it worse in my own head. Maybe I'm catastrophizing. And the curiosity of understanding more, that's a major way. I'm going to create that banner right now. Curiosity. The real story. Or deeper details. It changes the way you are reacting to a situation. Okay, you become more inviting to the situation. Put that up right now as our first technique. Put that up as the first technique, which I just wrote now. You're going through a major situation. It's super stressful to you. And curiosity, I'll get used to this, as in listing in detail. What am I feeling? How is my breath being affected? Where do I feel the tension? These are questions you're asking to yourself, okay? I'm saying it so that you can hear the words, so you can repeat the words to yourself. What do I see? I see someone's yelling. I see my bank account is almost at zero. I see my bank account's worse. It's maybe my bank account is negative $60,000. What does that really mean to me? So how do I feel when I see this person yelling, when I hear those sirens, when I see something breaking? What's happening inside of me? List it out. Are your shoulders tense? Is your neck tense? Are your teeth tense? Is your head tense? Where is the tension when you are in that situation? Is your belly? Do you feel like an emptiness in your belly or stabbing? Or is it a pain? Do your legs lock up? Go through the details. What are the ways that your body is reacting? Do you hold your breath? Do you start shaking? Does your voice go louder and louder? How am I going to get through this? Oh my God. Like, that's a thing. People's voices will go off the charts when it's really like, oh my God, right? It goes up. Do you go silent? Do you go the other way? Do you go lower and quieter and like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this? Okay. Really start to pay attention. Be curious about your reaction and why are they yelling right now? There is a siren going on. Don't ask what could possibly be wrong. That's catastrophizing. Instead, ask pronoia, how is this helping somebody? How is this situation that's happening that I could be worried about? How is there actually a layer to this that I should be very grateful for? The way that you turn the question to the negative is going to make it worse. That's where we started at the beginning of this. The more you focus your attention on the problem, the more of a problem there is. So change the questions of curiosity to ones of something you're actually interested in, which is, how is it good? Well, I'm 6 years. Now, obviously, this is going to be really difficult, so I'm exaggerating a little bit. Wow, I'm 6 years old. My parents are freaking out. They're going to get a divorce. I have no idea what to do. I'm trapped. I'm helpless. I don't know what to say. And every time I go and step up, they yell at me and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about and to get out of the way. But I'm 6. What do I do? Now, you might think this is a stretch, but that's 6-year-olds are actually subconsciously, that is what they're doing. Okay? And if they can't do anything at all, and if you were 6 and this happened to you and your parents were yelling and they ended up in divorce and they kept, and you started to feel like you weren't loved, you weren't strong enough to fight that off, to stop them from fighting, if you felt like it was your fault, maybe you need to ask yourself right now, did that need to happen for me to become what I was meant to be? Is there some way that everything that I went through as a kid, that all of the suffering and pain, that it is somehow lining up to show me what I want and don't want in the world? Does it show me, you know what? I'm never going to be like him. I'm never going to drink like that and yell like that. Wow, that seems to be really useful. That was a good lesson. You know what? This is another common one. I tried to fight my dad off my mom and I couldn't do it. And then that's when I decided I will never be weak. And then these these people go off to become bodybuilders or Navy SEALs or whatever, and they go and fight whole wars just because they decide they're never going to be weak, that they can't fight off their dad. Okay, so how did it align to actually ripple effect and make the world an even better place? Okay, get you another point here. While the situation is happening, because fear response, flight, fight, freeze is happening, reptilian brain going off, trying to figure out what resources do we need right now? How am I going to lose everything? That's reptilian brain is like, how am I about to lose everything? How am I about to be in a bunch of pain and discomfort? I don't like it. I want to run away. When that's happening, amygdala is going off and it's just breath is starting to go, and or instead of rapid breathing, or freeze. Okay. By becoming aware of what your body's is doing, you can start to then say, okay, I'm recognizing that this is an event that's happening outside of me. I don't have total control over the whole thing. I may not even have control to leave this situation. So point number one, connect into your body and say, I am having a reaction, and make the decision, do you want to have that reaction? That's a very empowering thing. Wait a minute, that means I have choice? Yeah, do you actually want to be? And a lot of people say, I don't have a choice. Of course, this is freaking me out. I am reacting. I'm like, well, there's some steps involved. Like, you're not just instantly reacting. You have to hear, you have to see, you have to sense what's going on. Then you have to interpret that siren, that yelling. You have to interpret it as something that you're scared of. I mean, you have to go through some stages. Then your body has to have a reaction. Some people freeze, some people fight. Why? Why is it different? Why does each individual have a different reaction? There's a curiosity right there. So do you want to be having this reaction? If you say, no, I don't want this reaction, now you have to understand that you have responsibility. You have what they call agency. I say they, like whoever came up with that term. I don't know who they are. But for some reason, the word agency, it means that you have the ability to respond. You have a response ability. Okay? That now makes me wonder if I spelled that wrong, because that says responsibility, but whatever. An ability to respond. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below, as they say in social media. So, if you have an ability to respond, that is your agency. And that means an ability. That means agency means control of your mind, control of your senses. The amount of control that you have is really relative to how present you are with it. I like the way that when I look at my screen, it looks like I'm reading that comment. Like I'm not reading it. I am reading the comment, but actually looks like I'm reading the comment. That's funny. That makes you look down, by the way. We tend to look where people are looking. So if I go like that, your mind will want to do the same thing. So every time I look down, it means you're going to read that again. But whatever. This is all lining up nicely. So your agency is your ability to observe what is happening. Your ability to ask yourself, do I want this to happen? What can I do? All right, what can I do? I'm just totally jumping around these parts. So connecting with the present moment, I'm reorganizing all these little like slides as I go. First and foremost, watch. Yeah. So after you've asked yourself, oh, this tension in my breath, what's it doing? What are my eyes doing? Are they darting? Am I staring at the floor? Am I frozen? Do I want to like squeeze into a corner and not be seen anymore? Whatever that is, do I want to feel that? No. What control do I have over my body? Can I choose to move my eyes? Sounds like an exaggeration, but that's a real thing. Like some people just are locked and they just cannot move out of that situation. What can I look at? Ask yourself that. If your breath goes solid or goes really fast, ask yourself, do I have the ability to change my breath pattern? FYI, the answer is technically always yes, you do, because nobody's actually doing anything to you. Nobody is stopping you or making you breathe like that. It's an internal reaction, which means you internally have the ability to change it. But whether or not you know you do is your agency. Believe that you do. Start now. Believe that you always have control, and you just have to logically tell yourself that. I do appreciate, I understand that sometimes the situation is so shocking, you don't. You are frozen, but that will pass. And the moment that that shock passes, get back onto the pattern of, what do I have control of inside of me? Can I start slowing my breath? Start with your breath. I already had that typed out. Look at that. Start with your breath. That was good. I wasn't even reading that. That's what you do, and that's why that's there. Pay attention to your breathing pattern and change it. It starts to build empowerment. That is your agency. Okay? It starts to build the belief that you have control over your breath. Your breath will, I guarantee you, it is the science. It is just the way humans are built. If you change your breath, you will change your reaction. You will change your physical tension. You will change your emotional state. And you will change your ability to move or stay still, depending on if you're a freeze or a flight reaction kind of person. If your breath work is very fast, simply say, can I make it slower? It'll sound like that. I've done it 1,000 times. This works. Okay. And you just start with what you got. Can I make it any slower? You don't have to go from like freak out to like perfect. That's not what this is about. One step. Oh, look at that. I said, just take one step. And there it is. I already typed that. Break everything down to tiny bites. Get through breath by breath in the worst possible situation. Like I'm talking like total shock situation, breath by breath is all you have to focus on. But if it's like a bad time in your life, that's a day by day cycle. Okay. But in that moment of severe shock, trigger, reaction, total frozen, like feels like you have no control, really just start with one little breath and if you've ever heard a kid like just scream and scream and scream and scream, and at some point you're going to hear them just like, they're going to just totally like stop because you can't scream any louder. And they're just totally at the limit. And then at some point it's just going to kick in and they're going to go and they're going to like have this big breath. It's just going to reset. And that little, it'll come back in again. So that little pattern, okay, shows you that the body's wired and designed to try and heal itself. Make use of that and try to slow your breath down, okay, or speed it up if you're frozen. Do it from the perspective of, can I slow it down one little bit? Can I speed it up one little bit, whichever one you're in, and do it breath by breath until you have control of your breath or more control of your breath. Okay, obviously we don't have total control. And then when you build that experience and that pattern that you are that you have a vote. I was going to say that you are in control, and I'm editing in my head, that you at least have some amount of ability to respond to this. Do you have some ability? When you start to get the pattern over time that you actually can ask yourself if you can do it, say yes. You have to say yes, and then do it. Can I slow my breath down just one bit? Yes. Go back to breathing. Can I slow that down one bit? Yes. Go back to breathing. Naturally, okay? Breath by breath. This is in terrible situations. This is for terrible, terrible situations. When things are more of a day by day cycle of like, I'm at work or I'm at school or I'm out of the house. And when I get back, it's going to be horrible. And I know that I just got to get through it for tonight or get through it for today. And I'm just going to hope that tomorrow is somehow better, or that tomorrow I have more control over my reaction. And every day you take your breaks, you go back into the depths of whatever the pain and suffering that you're going through is, but you keep saying to yourself, can I have one more bit of control this time while they're yelling at me or while it's terrible? Can I relax my muscles this time while they're yelling at me? I keep saying yelling at me because that's mostly what people are talking about, okay? Because like, if it's financial struggles, if it's fear of not knowing where your next job or your next meal is going to come from, that's not something that is, it's hard to hear it when you're in this situation, but I'm sorry, I do have to say it like this. That lack is not being forced upon you. Okay. Sometimes, yeah, they fire you, they steal your stuff, you lose your things. I understand it feels like it's being forced on you. And internally it does. Obviously it's being forced upon you. And that's why it feels that way. But as an overall perspective of that situation, the moment that you've lost something, your job or your income, you go immediately back to, okay, well, what's the next step to take to get it back? What's the next step? Because they're not constantly stealing your money. They're not constantly firing you at every single job. It might feel like it, but it's not universally true. You will eventually find it again. And that's in your control. But when you are not in that situation, when you are a kid or when you are in a relationship or when you are going to a job that you absolutely hate and they're screaming at you at your job and putting you down, and this is a thing, like that, sadly, that's a real thing today, that there are people that go to work, literally offices, and they're being like so abused, but they're trying to get through until they can find something better. And what amount of resiliency can they have, can you have for the day just to get through wherever you are day by day? Start with your breath. After your breath, break it down to tiny bites. If I can relax my breath and slow my breath down, my muscles will just relax. But what if I start saying, okay, where's the tension in my body? Where can I relax that just a little bit? It's hard. It's going to feel like shaking. It's going to feel like trying to let it go. It feels unsafe, but just use your breath, let it go for a bit, and then let yourself tense back up again. That one tiny bite builds resilience. What else can you control right now? When you are in the situation, can I get my body to relax? Yes, because nobody can make me not relax. It's my choice. Can I control my breath? Sure. We talked about that. Nobody's making me breathe fast or slow. I have to pay attention. I can change that. What else can I control? I can control my position, my physical body. I can look away. Okay. I can massage myself. I'm doing it for real right now. I was just showing you, but now it turned into a real thing. I'm just like, okay. Massage your head. When things are very tense, start with your temples. Massage in a circle like this. Sorry, it's not a circle. It's actually up and down. Okay. You'll feel there's a shape right there. I think you can kind of see it in the shadow on me. But you'll feel that there's kind of like it divots in right there, and then it becomes your forehead up here. So where it divots in, down to where your cheekbone is, that it's all backwards on the screen. That little area right there, that's what you're massaging, just that divot. Okay, and you're going back to your ear and also towards your eye. So that's the width and that's the height, that whole area. So you use 4 fingers, so you get all of it. But I'm pushing really hard on the middle too. Pretty hard, actually. I'm really cranking it. You do that 30 seconds slowly. I'm showing you exactly the speed to do it. Okay. and it's long, goes way down in my cheekbones, way up to where it turns into my forehead and back down again. Okay. That's step number 1. Step number 2, across your forehead like this. Okay. It works better, I'll be honest with you, and the way I was taught is to go with your whole hand. Okay. Slow. And by the way, you can't hear it very well, but you can hear I'm like grinding, like I'm pushing so hard. Okay. It creates friction, your skin to your skin. The friction will create heat and that warmth just by rubbing hard. It's going to create warmth on your forehead. That'll create blood flow, and also it's pressure points. Okay, it's hitting a bunch of pressure points that will relieve some amount of stress. This is a different kind of stress than here. The next point to massage is feels so weird that it's on. I turn one way and on the screen it goes the other. So right, I don't know if I can show you. Okay, so there's a space in your cheek, and then there's a muscle. The muscle is over your jaw. So in my case, I have face fur. So where my face fur is, that's my jaw. Okay, that's my beard. Okay, so that little line right there, you'll feel a muscle that starts right beside your ear. And as you go down, as you move your jaw around, you're going to feel that there's a muscle. You can grab it like that. You can physically, that's the shape of mine. That is the size. I can pinch it. That muscle, if you pull down from your ear down as hard as you can, so it's massaging towards your chin, follow the shape of my chin here. And so this is your jaw. You're following your jaw and towards your chin and out. I have to look. I'm sorry I'm not looking at you because I have to look at myself while I'm doing it. It's kind of hard. Okay, so I'm going to show you from this side. I massage a little bit in a circle right where the joint, where the jaw is moving. So this part of my skull is still, just below that where the jaw is moving. You massage there, do a couple of circles, push really hard, and then pull a couple of times down, out the jaw like you're pulling it out, and then flick it out your jaw. I'm saying it, but there is a physical energy. It's not like you're just pulling tension out, but it's not just an idea that you're pulling out. It is physically, there is a physical fascia line and nervous system line that as you're pulling like this down and out your chin, it reduces your anxiety and your stress. Okay. So the only person's face I can see because she's physically here with me is Lydia. Lydia, do you feel, I'm going to put you on screen just for 1 second. You just did the massaging and the actions with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels like a big change.
It's pretty instant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Like just by doing it a little bit within like the 2 minutes you were doing it, without even, I didn't tell you what the reaction was going to be, but you felt a reaction just from doing it.
Yeah,
okay.
I did.
That's awesome. Thanks. After you do that, clap or shake your hands or flick. Okay. So this is another thing you can control right now. Aside from massaging, another tip is create tension just for a moment, either in your jaw or in your hands, just for 1 moment, like, and then shake it out and use your breath. Ball it back up again. I'm really tense about this thing. Shake it out. You only need a moment of tension if you are thinking that what it is that you're tense about. Wow, I'm really scared that all of my money is gone right now and I don't know what to do. Oh, I'm so scared. Whatever that fear means to you. Maybe the fear looks like this. Use your own natural reaction to that fear or to that tension or whatever the case may be, whether it's somebody yelling at you, whether you have anxiety, you don't know what tomorrow is going to be, whatever that looks like. This is usually anxiety. This is usually fear. And this is usually tension. Okay. So whatever is your version of it. This is all my expressive arts therapy training coming out a little bit here. And then just for a moment, say, I have that fear, tension, discomfort, whatever you say, however that looks, and then decide to get it out and get it out in some way, in a version of clapping, shaking, breathing it out, sounding it out. Ah, oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Just go big with it for a moment. This is very important because people do ask me this in therapy. Like, I'm scared I'm going to create a pattern of just like screaming all day and talking to myself. I'm scared that I'm just going to be tense all day. And that's why we say it's a very mindful action to say, I have tension. I'm getting it out. Take a cleansing breath and relax. You have control of this right now in any situation that you're in. Okay. Almost any situation. This is possible. Everything I'm showing you, you do have control over. I understand that that's not true in every situation because you might be literally being attacked. You might be literally being, whatever, something very bad physically is happening to you. In that situation, what you can control right now is there's a lot of things, and I'm not going into details. When you're really in, like, literally it's happening to you, there's a different list. It's a different conversation of what you can do right then and there. But I guarantee you, and it's a total fact because you're listening to me right now, it will pass. That little moment will pass and go into these practices when that moment passes. Okay. I'm just taking a look at my notes here because I'm doing all of this out of order. I have these notes, but I just do this, and we're at 1 hour. This is one of the, okay, aside from moving your body, breathing, and watching your thoughts, we went over that. Music, immensely powerful, very, very powerful because of auditory entrainment. So whenever there is a rhythm of something that's happening, even if it's just a machine somewhere in the building that's going, or some kind of like whatever, air conditioner, pop machine, whatever, the constancy of it, the repetitive nature, if it is constant, will create auditory entrainment, and it will affect your mood. If you choose a song or some form of sounds, because it doesn't have to be music, it can just be like, like nature sounds that you're playing in YouTube. But if it has a rhythm, I don't have that written here, I'm noticing. But if there is a rhythm, some form of drum or some form of beat that is pronounced, dum, 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 or a very, very traditional Latin like dum, ta-dum, 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 ta-dum. It's instant. Like the second you hear that sound, like your body wants to move and do something along with it, especially if you've done it over and over again. So big thing about building resiliency, I don't have it written here, is repetition makes resiliency. I'm going to type that out right now. Okay. Repetition. Repetition makes resiliency. Well, turns out I did type it wrong, but yay, autocorrect. Boop. It's great that that's in bigger letters. The more you go through a situation, I've kind of said it a few times already, but the more you take your break when you're washing your hands or taking your walk or having your meal or whatever, and you're resetting yourself using some of these techniques, breathing and asking yourself the questions, everything we talked about already, and you go back into the same situation, know that the fact that it is happening over and over again is building resiliency. If you're doing all the rest of what we talked about in this video. If you avoid it entirely, if you completely, this brings us to one of our last points for today. If you completely avoid pain, you won't build resiliency for when it just happens, when pain just happens around you. I do agree with the concept of avoid, like don't go looking for fights. Don't watch more negative things and don't go to, scary places just because you want to build resiliency. No, it's best to avoid negativity as much as you can. If it's not necessary,
But there's that whole pronoia thing, right? So I put that up earlier already, that your subconscious beliefs are what is mostly affecting what's happening in your life. If you fear losing money, there is a greater chance you will lose money. So if there is something that's repeating, sometimes you have to be aware while you're going through that negativity. Sometimes you need to go through it just to have the awareness of what is your reaction, what is your trigger, so that you can become better aware of what that subconscious belief is that's triggering that situation. If nothing ever goes wrong, you may never become aware of what your subconscious belief is that could be actually bringing something negative later. So if there is a repetitiveness to a negativity that keeps surfacing in your life, you do have to take a look at how are you kind of creating this just from your subconscious process. What is happening under there? And if you avoid all negativity, then you will be also avoiding all of your own negativity in your subconscious mind, and that won't build resiliency. So we do need to be okay with this next point. You got to lean into the pain every now and then. Okay? If you were always avoiding pain, how could you go grow muscles at a gym? Because if you lift weights and you have no pain at all, the chances of you actually getting stronger is very slim. Pain is required to build strength. But you don't have to suffer. And that's a big thing about pain. Oh, I don't want to ever feel pain. That's what our body says. And so we avoid it, and then we have no resiliency. And then when a bad time happens around us that we don't have control over, we have a meltdown because we have no resiliency. So if we see that there is pain in the world, which means I don't like what's happening and I wish I could change it. You know, this person's really causing me a lot of troubles and I'm just avoiding them all the time. But every now and then, it's okay to sit in that. Somebody really wants to voice their opinion to you, and you got to just sit and listen to it and really look at, you know, what is your reaction. But don't go over 80% of your current resilience in any situation. As you're building resiliency, as you're lasting that, you know, every time you last a little longer while somebody's still yelling at you and you're practicing not being affected by it. Every time you go to work and you know it's a terrible day, you know, you hate your job, but you go a little bit longer that day thinking about things that are positive and not letting it affect you. Staying focused on your internal reaction. Every day you get a little bit better, your total resiliency goes up. So 80% of whatever your current resiliency is, if you go over that, we're going to call that suffering. That's an unnecessary amount of pain. So as you're building resiliency by allowing yourself to be around or in a discomfort, an uncomfortable situation, being mindful of how much you are able to control your breath, your reaction. But if it gets to be too much and it's too fast, too much, and you're going over 80% of your total ability to hold that, you just cut the situation off. Okay. And that's why I always use like going to the gym. If you start tearing your muscles and shredding them, you're going past your limit. You won't really heal properly. You won't really build muscle properly. There's only so much you need to hurt yourself, and that's the optimal amount. So when we talk about going through a painful situation, there's only so much you should stick around that negativity and say, it's not really bothering me. I don't have to let it bother me. But at some point when it does start to bother me, I just say, okay, I'm just going to move away now. But remember that it's okay to stick around it to build resiliency. And that's a personal choice. And the only way I can really describe that to you is you have to ask yourself, am I able to stick it out? And the way that you do this is you say, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the worst amount of pain and discomfort I can be in right now. Okay, if 10 is the worst, And this is an intuitive number, by the way. You can't generally be wrong. You just got to be quick. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the worst, I feel blank out of 10. And let that just try and be a number. 6, 8, 7, 5, whatever the case may be. Then as soon as you spit that number out, do a self-check. Okay, I'm pretty uncomfortable right now. My head hurts. There's a lot of tension. I'm under a lot of pressure to meet a deadline. I'm starting to feel like I'm kind of like I'm doing this stuff with my hands, and my voice is kind of speeding up, and I'm noticing that like I'm nodding right now, and I'm like, oh man, I'm feeling kind of nervous. So as you're aware of these things, okay, instead of cutting out and just going, I want out, you have to say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is this really? Like for how bad this could be, I guess I'm like a 7. Start rubbing my chest. I don't know why. I'm trying to act this out for real. I guess I'm a 7. Okay, is that an 8? No, I don't have to cut it off yet. Okay, I can stick in if it's an 8. Okay, let's start going through all the other things we talked about in this video. Okay, can I just watch my breath and calm my body? And maybe I can bring that a 7 or 8. Maybe I can just bring it down to a 6 just by doing some self-care practices, which we talked about in this video. If we bring that number down, this is the most important part. We're going to end on this. If we're starting to reach an 8 and we do the practices in this video, and we bring the 8 or 7 down to a 5 or a 6, which I do all the time in my client sessions, okay? As soon as I show them that they brought the number down, what they thought was a 7, what they were calling a 7 or an 8 amount of discomfort and pain, they start to realize is not really a 7 or an 8. It's really a 5. And that is a form of resiliency. It just doesn't bother them as much anymore. So what that does is it changes the overall scale. So now everything we were calling a 10 now becomes an 8. Everything we were calling an 8 now becomes a 6. That's what resiliency feels like. That's how you know you're getting it. You have to have this scale. If it's called a sum rating. I used to know what that stood for. Now I can't remember. But yeah, anyway, I have to look it up to remember what it's called. But your sum rating, and now it's bugging me that I can't come up with the words. But anyway, it's a thing. And and so you know that your resiliency is getting better over time, day by day or week by week, if in the exact same situation you say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do I think this is? And if that number goes down, you got your self-check pass. Hey, that means I'm more resilient. Simple as that. And also, like, if other people keep calling it bad, they keep saying it's an 8 out of 10. This is terrible. I need out of here. And your number goes down while theirs isn't. You do still have to ask yourself, even though I am resilient, do I need to stick with it this today? Right now? Do I have to practice this all the time? And maybe the answer is yes, because you want to be super resilient, but maybe the answer is no. Take your time with this. If everyone else is saying this is way worse than what you think it is, don't let them change your mind. Keep being more resilient because you're doing the practice and they aren't. So that's another way to know that you're getting better is if your perspective of that amount of pain goes down and no one else's is, at least that's another way, that's a confirmation that you're getting better. All right, we're going to call that good for today. I'm just checking any notes to see. Lydia, if you want to type, I saw that you shared a comment, but I didn't see a need to put it up. I'm going to, it's a great comment. Can I put it up, Lydia? Yeah, sure, she says. No, I can't hear her. I'm assuming that was a sure. Turns out I can't because it's in the private chat. So because it's in the private chat, I can't actually post it up. So, but it's a great comment. So what Lydia says is, I'm going to take this other one off because I don't want it to get confusing. Lydia says, When I get frustrated, I often try to tell myself I am grateful for the difficult feelings because of the opportunities they give me to better understand myself and my needs. It really helps change my state. And that's fantastic. Thanks a lot for sharing that. And I want to reiterate that if you do that repeatedly and you learn the lessons that you need to learn, as your number goes down and it doesn't affect you, at some point you can say, I don't need this lesson anymore. And you could just cut it right off and move on to a new one. Because resiliency makes us stick out something like last through, like we persevere, we endure a situation that we really shouldn't even be enduring at all. So at some point, when you got to also look at your sum rating and go, like, there's a rating of like how bad is this really? Am I just overreacting? Can I control my internal state and bring that number down? But at some point, you also have to say, do I really need to learn this lesson? Like, this is really all happening to me from a place of pronoia. This is all happening for me to learn a lesson. Can I just confirm, like, have I learned this lesson? Can I just cut this out now? And your ultimate place of resiliency and empowerment is, I'm done with this. I don't have to listen to this person anymore. I don't have to deal with this situation anymore. I'm out of here. And that's when you've reached, like, you've done it. You've reached the pinnacle of your empowerment, and it's just not a trigger anymore. It's just not affecting you. So if anybody else that's live in Facebook or YouTube wants to send a question or a comment, that's why this is live, so that I can answer you live. But feel free to type that out. And if you are typing it out and it's not coming through to me in the studio, then I apologize. I am going to take a look online just in case there is anybody making comments that I don't know about. Hi, Ruth, and hi. Oh, there's Lydia, Ruth, and Mish. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Just checking also on, like I said, I'm fishing for comments over here before I check out. Okay, and no, I don't see anybody saying anything. So let's call that done for this week. That was a good one. Yay me for getting rid of the black bars, and yay me. Oh, we're gonna wave. All right, she comes on every single week. Hi, Leo.
Bye. Say bye to Robin.
Look at your nice cat.
Yeah. Yes. Him is a boy named Robin.
Wow, that's a great name.
There's no lots of Robins around here.
Yes.
Thanks for watching again this week. Oh, I want to put you on full screen. Can I put you on full screen? I don't know.
Little boy. Little boy.
I don't know how to put you guys on full screen.
Little boy. Little boy.
All right.
There's Robin.
Okay, we're gonna say bye. We're gonna say bye. Bye. All right. I see Georgia's here saying hi. So hi, Georgia. And thanks a lot, everyone. It was a good night. And we'll see you again next Wednesday. If you have any suggestions for what you want me to talk about, please type them out in the comments and I will go live on that topic. Otherwise, I'll do whatever I feel like. And that's the honest answer. Whatever just feels natural for me to plan for that week, I do. But definitely check out the previous videos. And please excuse if the videos that you do watch have any technical glitches at the beginning. Just skip ahead until we pretty much, get going. Okay. I guess that's it. Thank you very much. I'm going to end for the night, and we'll see you next week. Be really